Now, before game time, let's take 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Standard Oil Sports Network.
WVLK, Lexington, Kentucky.
Now here at the Coliseum in Lexington, it's game time. As Utah State moves out, they'll be starting Harold Theus at a forward. Theus, 21-year-old junior from Oakland, California. 6'2.5", he weighs 170 pounds. Thayer will not be starting. And Theus will move into jump center against Phil Johnson as we are now ready to go with the ball game. They get the tap as it's bit back to Ralph Culmore, who's in there starting at a guard position. Theus from the right corner shoots and misses. Bates runs it down in the left corner for Utah State. Passes her out deep to Culmore, Cullimore. 5'11", weighs 160, 20-year-old sophomore from Garland, Utah. Cullimore at the top rim of the circle, moves to the right, comes inside Theus to the baseline. A jump shot good. Polak gets the field goal, his first of the ball game, to make it 2-0 with Hatton in front court to Cox on the left side. Back out to Hatton. Johnson is on the pivot. Off the right side to Smith. A set shot's good. And so Kentucky's first shot of the ball game ties it 2-2. And we have played only 42 seconds. Back in front court, Utah State's Ralph Cullimore gives over to the left side to Polak, playing with a heavily bandaged left elbow. Into the pivot, and here's a jump shot that rolls around the rim by Ibsen. No good. Johnny Cox has the rebound, knocked away by Bates, out of bounds, where Kentucky will get it under the Utah State backset. Back in front court, Hatton arches a high one to Mills at the baseline, moves out, flips it up, no good, but he's fouled on the play. Bob Ibsen of Utah State drawing the first personal of the game after 1 minute and 8 seconds. Martell Beaton, who was originally listed as a guard, did not start the ball game as Mills of Kentucky is on the line for 2 shots. Mills sights for the first one. It's good. The second one coming puts Kentucky in front for the first time at 3-2. Mills' free throw, good. Kentucky leads 4-2 before what will certainly be the smallest crowd of the season for the Coliseum. Up in the front court now is Cullimore. Fakes to Bates going through the pivot. Passes in there to Theus. Jump shot's good. And so Harold Theus, with his first field goal, makes the score 4-4. Hatton back in front court for the Wildcats with Johnson playing the pivot, and Mills back at the baseline. Out to Hatton from 20 feet. He misses. Tapped up by Mills. By Cox. It's good. Johnny Cox with his first field goal, and Kentucky has scored on every trip for a 6-4 lead. Cullimore in front court, moving to the left side. Theus goes in on the pivot, gets the pass at the baseline, kicks it out to the right side to Polak, and a 25-footer, a very quick shot, no good. Hatton gets the rebound, triggers a 3-2 fast break, passes over to Cox, who fakes, goes down the baseline, pulled up, takes his shot, and it's good. Johnny Cox with his second field goal makes it 8-4 for the Cats after 2 minutes. In the front court, Polak down the right side, giving to Theus, moves in behind him on a screen, and the jump shot short off the rim with a pushing foul against Mills of Kentucky. It's the first foul against the Wildcats. We've played 2 minutes and 9 seconds. Kentucky leading 8-4. Cox with 4 points, Smith with 2, and Mills with 2. And Bob Ibsen, 1 shot coming. Pushed under the basket, trying to rebound. Has 1 coming. Ibsen's shot is short and to the right, and the rebound taken off by Mills. Quick 2-handed pass out to Smith, up to Hatton at the top of the circle. He goes in and shoots from the free throw line. No good. Johnson taps. It's good. So Johnson is the 4th Cat to score, and it's 10-4. Up in the front court, walking by Polak, who started to pass in on the left side to Bates, found him open. Now the pass in by Adrian Smith is over the head of Hatton and out of bounds to Utah State under the Kentucky basket. Since it wasn't touched, however, we're going to bring it back up to this near western side of Utah State's front court. Frank Polak will put it in play. Passes deep to Cullimore. Cullimore moving to the right, passes to Theus. Calls him for a screen and takes a jump shot. No good. Bounces off of the rim. Bates knocks it down, and picked up and laid in by Utah State's Bob Ibsen, his first field goal. makes the score 10-6. Hatton in front court to Cox on the left side. Back outside to Hatton, who drops it, picks it up. One bounce dribble. Johnson playing out on the free throw line gets it, turns, shoots, short. Hatton tries to tap, no good. Mills taps, Johnson taps, and then it's taken off by Polak of Utah State. First time Kentucky has not scored. Here it is, wide open. Cullimore lays it in for Utah State, his first field goal. And 2 straight field goals now by Utah State has cut Kentucky's 6-point lead to 2 at 10-8. Hatton moving back in front court now to set it up. Passes right side to Smith, down into the right corner to Don Mills. Back outside to Hatton, over to Cox at the top of the circle. Moves to the left side and passes deep again to Hatton. Johnson and Mills playing the double pivot off the zone defense. Here's Mills in the right corner, passing to Johnson in under the basket. Double team, bounces out to Cox for a 10-footer. Blocked by Theus. And Kentucky has failed to score for the second straight trip down the court. Now Cullimore with a looping one to Theus right in front of the Kentucky bench, and the shot is no good. Cox taps it down and fights to get it, and it's knocked out of bounds. It'll be a jump ball between Bates and Cox. Johnny Cox at 6'4" will have 3 inches height advantage on the Utah State free throw line. We have 16 minutes, 12 seconds in the first half, and Utah State, playing in black uniforms, calls timeout. They have Utah State in white across the top of the front number, and the score is 10-8. As we have seen Kentucky go into a quick lead of 10-4, the Aggies have battled back to within 2 points now. The scoring so far is Phil Johnson 2 points, Johnny Cox 4, Odie Smith 2, and Don Mills 2. As so far, Vernon Hatton is the only one that has not scored. For Utah State, they have 4 men with 1 field goal each for their 8 points. That is Polak, Cullimore, Theus, and Ibsen. Utah State's timeout. They've made the adjustments for which have been called by Coach Baker, and we're ready to go back to play. Kentucky tonight has a bench comprised of Bill Smith from Walton, Harold Ross from Hickman, Abe Collinsworth of Salyersville, Bill Cassidy of Inez, Dick Howe of Carbondale, Illinois. Here's the tap going to Hatton, up to Adrian Smith in front court. Out to Mills, moving to the right side, going down with a collision under the basket, passing out to Smith from 15 feet. He hits. Odie Smith with his second field goal makes it 12-8 for the Wildcats. And Polak back in front court for the Aggies. Passing over to Cullimore, fakes to Theus, whips a 2-handed pass into the pivot, and here's a jump shot up. No good. As it comes off of the rim, Ibsen passes off to Theus into the right corner. He fakes Johnson, and then is fouled across the arms by Johnny Cox. For Johnny Cox, that's his first personal foul, and the second against the Wildcats. 1 shot comes to Harold Theus, and this is his first appearance at the free throw line. So far, Kentucky hasn't missed a free throw, and Utah State hasn't hit a free throw. 15 minutes, 43 seconds yet in the first half as Theus shoots short and no good. Utah State out-rebounding Kentucky here in the early going, and a hook is good by Ibsen. Second field goal, and again, Utah State's within 2 points at 12-10. Here's Smith to the right side to Johnson. Back outside to Johnny Cox, top of the circle shot, and he's fouled by Polak across the arms, his first foul. That shot went off like a broken spring. So Cox goes into the line for 1 shot. Cox has 2 field goals, the same as Odie Smith as he stands in for his free throw. 2-handers, no good. Tapped by Mills, no good. Down on the floor, Cox picks it up, knocked away from him, and finally out of bounds to Kentucky, opposite Jay Bates. Hatton will put it in play. He's the only cat without a point right now. Calls his play, passes deep to Smith on the left side. Double team passes back over to Hatton. Hatton down the right side to Phil Johnson. Back to Hatton, out to Cox. Top rim of the circle, moves to the side. Double team gives over to Mills for a 10-foot jump shot, no good. Comes off to Theus, knocked away from him, and we'll have a jump ball. Johnson and Theus will jump. Johnson at 6'5" is 2.5 inches taller after 5 minutes of play. Here's the tap to Cox. He's immediately double team in the 3-second zone. Over to Mills, back to Smith, moves to the top of the circle, and he's fouled by Polak. Hit him across the arms at the same spot he hit Cox. That's the second foul on Polak and the third against the Aggies. Adrian Smith will shoot 1. He was trying to pass, not shoot. Kentucky as a team has hit 2 for 3. Smith shoots good, and the Cats lead 13-10. Back into front court now, Cullimore. Passing over to the right side to Polak. Takes it down the side, gives to Theus. Holding it out of play deep. Now a bounce pass comes over to Cullimore. Down the left side to Bates and back to Cullimore. Bates breaks for the basket. The pass in and back to Bates, who hooks it up no good. Fight for the ball coming off with it is Bates. Back out to Cullimore to Theus on the left side, and the jump shot's good. Theus with his second field goal, and Kentucky's lead now is only 1 point, 13-12. Hatton to Cox, and back to Hatton in front court. Kentucky playing the double pivot with Mills out deep at the free throw line. Smith fakes, goes down through it, kicks off to Mills, moving to the right side. Back out to Smith, moves to the right, pulls up. Has it taken away from him. Now Cox goes to the floor to tie up Cullimore. Johnny Cox at 6'4", takes in 5 inches of height advantage against Cullimore on the Kentucky free throw line. Here's the toss and the tap slapped by Cox in the back court, where Hatton picks it up on the second hop and moves it back to the attack quickly. Down the left side to Cox, who brings it out, passes to Johnson, off the left side to Adrian Smith, back into the left corner to Vernon Hatton, and back out to Adrian Smith, breaks into the free 3-second zone, over to Johnson, back to Smith. Smith sets from 20 feet and misses. Cox tries for it, but it's rebounded by Theus. Fed out to Cullimore on the fast break down the left side. From 10 feet, Hatton cuts off his shot as he leaps up into the air to Theus. Passed under there, a hook. Good by Bob Ibsen, his third field goal, and Utah State's in front. 14-13 as Ed Beck comes off the bench. Vernon Hatton back in front court now. Down the left side to Cox, who drops the ball, hooks it out to Smith and over to Johnson. One bounce dribble by Johnson and back out to Smith. He has it kicked out of bounds, and Kentucky will put it in play on the left side of the court. Adrian Smith is out of bounds. Bounce pass to Mills in the left corner. Back to Smith, moves out for a jump shot that's no good. Tap by Johnson, and Mills no good. The rebound taken off by Mills, and as he jumps to shoot, he's fouled. The personal foul goes against Ibsen, his second one. And that's the fourth one against Utah State. Mills is on the Kentucky free throw line. That's who Ed Beck will be replacing. 13 minutes and 5 seconds here in the first half at Lexington. Mills on the line, shooting 2. Here's the first one, good. Has a second one coming. Mills, averaging 1 point a game, has already picked up 3 points. Second one is good, and he comes out with 4 points. Ed Beck replacing him, a 21-year-old senior from Fort Valley, Georgia. Beck, 6'7", weighs 196. He's the number 6 scorer with 30 points, a 3.7 average. His best night against Duke when he got 8 points. Now in the front court is Polak. Bounce pass to Bates, and he hooks over Cox. It's no good. Up high is Johnson to get the rebound. Moves him quickly into front court to the top rim of the circle, and then goes right down the middle. He missed it, but he's fouled by Polak of Utah State. Polak hitting him with the hip as the official yells to the scores table. That's 3 personals on Polak and 5 against the Aggies. 2 shots come to Phil Johnson, who makes his first appearance at the free throw line with 1 field goal. 12 minutes and 48 seconds here in the first half. Johnson's first try is good. Johnson, when he shoots a free throw, seems to pull the string. In other words, he has no follow-through to his free throw. He shoots at only about half strength. He sights, shoots, short. Tapped up in the air and taken by Polak, who committed the foul for Utah State. Underhands one to Cullimore, moving into front court. Hatton playing him loosely out and deep. Back over to Polak, moves down the left side. Bounce pass into the pivot, knocked down by Beck. But it's picked up by Ibsen, given to Theus. Rolls one on a low bounce pass out to Cullimore. Down the right to Bates with a whistle. Pushing foul against Beck. Well away from the ball. His first foul and the third against Kentucky. And Bob Ibsen goes to the Utah State free throw line. 12 minutes, 28 seconds here in the first half. Utah State still looking for that first free throw, while Kentucky has been able to hit 6 out of 8. The difference in the 16-14 score. Now Ibsen hits the free throw, and it is 16-15. Kentucky with a 1-point edge on Utah State. Here's Hatton passing over to Adrian Smith. Down the right to Cox, back to Smith. Hatton goes through, pass to Johnson. 1 bounce dribble and back to Smith. And to the right corner to Cox. Dropped the ball, picked it up, quickly double-teamed, and hooks a pass out to Smith, who pulls Theus up on his back. Theus thought he was going to block the shot. Adrian Smith stopped, and Theus committed his first foul, falling across his back. And that is 6 of them against the Aggies. So after this, the bonus rule will be in effect. Adrian Smith, Kentucky's leading scorer with 5 points, is on the line, shooting and missing. Tapped up by Johnson, taken by Utah State's Frank Polak. Kentucky with a 1-point lead after 8 minutes of play. Bounce pass goes to Ibsen in the pivot. A hook over Beck is no good. Taken off by Cox. Dropped the ball off his head and out of bounds. Utah State will take it under its own basket. Out of bounds is Polak. Passes deep to Cullimore. Whips right back into the pivot. And here's a fake by Ibsen that sent Beck out of bounds, and it's missed. Taken off by Cox. Thrown over the shoulder to Johnson. A beautiful lead pass in the front court. Hatton at the top of the circle. A one-bounce dribble. Hooks a pass to Johnson under the basket. Shoots it out to Smith from 15 feet. Good. Odie Smith went to the left side of the court for his third field goal and 7th point, and the Cats lead 18-15. Back in front court, Cullimore. Kentucky had a lead of 10-4, the biggest margin of the game. Utah State's had a lead, too, of 1 point. Here's Theus from 20 feet. Good. Harold Theus with his third field goal, and it's 18-17. Hatton in front court, down the left side to Cox, who's open and takes the jump shot. No good. Johnson taps it in. Second field goal for Johnson, and Kentucky leads 20-17 after 9 minutes. Polak in front court for Utah State. Inside Bates to the right corner. Shoots one in there that is picked up by Ibsen, and he shoots it good. Ibsen has 4 field goals, and Kentucky's unable to stop the center. They lead by 1 point as Smith in front court passes to Hatton. Down the right side to Johnson, who brings it out, gives to Adrian Smith. Sets from 25 feet and hits. Odie Smith with his 4th field goal to match the 4 by Ibsen makes it a 22-19 Kentucky lead. 9.5 minutes roll by here at the Coliseum in Lexington, Kentucky and Utah State. Here's a quick one-hander from the outside. Good by Frank Polak. Second field goal for Polak, and it's 22-21, Kentucky with a 1-point lead. Smith in front court, sets it up now. Pass goes right side, which is weak to Hatton. In the pivot to Beck, turns from the free throw line and misses. Rebound comes out to Odie Smith, who is tripped by Polak, but it's picked up by Johnson in the left corner. Over to Beck from 20 feet, he misses again. Picked it up, lays it down to Hatton, who shoots. No good. Now it's Ibsen taking it off for Utah State. 2-on-1 break against Smith. Cullimore loses the ball and walks with it. The Cats take over down in back court. Smith whips one to Phil Johnson. And the referee brings it back. Johnson going in for a dead crip shot. And the officials say that Kentucky must take it over the baseline to put it in play. So now we go back to play with Hatton getting the pass from Smith. Moving over the center stripe. Down the left side to Cox, back out to Adrian Smith, moves to the left side by Bates. Over to Ibsen, back to Cox, and shoots good, 15 feet to the left. Third field goal for Johnny Cox, and timeout Utah State. Their second timeout of the ball game, with Kentucky holding another 3-point edge. 24-21, 9 minutes and 26 seconds here in the first half of play. Well, here's the scoring in the ball game so far. For Kentucky, Phil Johnson has 5 points. Johnny Cox 6. Adrian Smith leads with 9. Don Mills has 4. 6 Cats have played. 4 have scored. Mills, Smith, Cox, Johnson. So far, Hatton has not scored. Neither has Beck. For Utah State, leading scorers Frank Polak with 4. Or check us on that. Ibsen with 9. And Polak with 4. Theus with 6. And Cullimore with 2, as the Aggies have 4 men in the scoring column also. 9 minutes, 26 seconds in the first half. Utah State ready to go back to play. The pass comes in to Ralph Cullimore, who moves in front court now. Passing over to Polak. Down the right side to Theus, back to Polak. Fakes that quick shot on Smith. Flips it in there, but it's knocked right back outside to Cullimore, who picks it up and takes a jump shot from the right side. No good. Beck taps it down, then has it taken away from him as it's knocked to the outside. Picked up by Cullimore, knocked down by Hatton, picked up by Beck, thrown over the head of Johnson, right to Bates, and Johnson fouled him. Slapping for the ball, he hit Bates right in the face. First foul on Phil Johnson, and that's 4 against Kentucky with 9 minutes here in the first half. Jay Bates hit in the face, backs off of the free throw line now. Checking to make sure he doesn't have a nosebleed is pointless. He stands in at the free throw line for the first time and misses short. Johnny Cox rebounds, passes to Smith for a 3-3 break with Hatton. Over to Cox from 10 feet. The jump shot's no good. Kentucky had a little rebounding strength then as Beck was still in back court. It's Theus to the free throw line, and a jump shot's short, no good. Knocked into the back court. It's picked up by Theus of Utah State. Passed over to Polak. Kentucky holds a 3-point lead. Failing to score the last time down the court and increase it to 5. Here's a quick jump shot by Polak. Screams off of the rim and out of bounds as Smith moved in and blocked out Ibsen from getting the rebound before it went out of bounds. Here's the pass from Smith to Hatton. He moves up into front court, down the right side to Johnson, back to Hatton, as Kentucky is in a single pivot now with Beck at the free throw line. Here's a high pass by Hatton, clear over the head of Beck to Bates. He throws a high one down court, picked up by Polak, shoots one behind him to Cullimore, knocked down by Beck, picked up by Cullimore. Behind he's back to Ibsen, who's open to the left and lays it in. 5 feet over to the left, Ibsen gets his 5th field goal, and now it's a 1-point Kentucky lead at 24-23 after 12 minutes of play. Down the left side to Cox, he's fouled by Bates, trying to outbreak him for the ball, and the bonus rule now applies on that first foul by Bates and the 7th by the Aggies. We have 7 minutes, 57 seconds to play. Johnny Cox will take one. He is 0 for 1 at the free throw line. Our next broadcast will be 1 week from tonight here at 7:45 in the Coliseum when Kentucky plays Loyola, the only team outside the Southeastern Conference the Cats will play the rest of the season. And they have a 2-game set home and home with Loyola. Cox's first free throw is good. Second one coming up with a 2-point Kentucky lead, and it's good to make it 26-23. The Cats' longest lead over this Aggie club has been 6 points at 10-4. Up into front court now is Polak. Fakes to the left, comes back to the right. Passes to Theus. Moves out for a 20-foot jump shot, and it's good. Theus with his 4th field goal. Makes it 26-25, cutting the Kentucky lead back to 1 point. Hatton in front court, down the right to Johnson. Mows it out, passes to Beck on the free throw line. Back to Johnson, wide open, lays it in. 3rd field goal by Phil Johnson. Kentucky 28, Utah State 25. Polak in front court for the Aggies. Behind his back, Beck slaps it into the face of Hatton. It's picked up by Ibsen, though. Off the left to Cullimore, who takes a 10-foot jump shot, no good. Tapped and taken by Phil Johnson of Kentucky. Odie Smith on the fast break with Hatton down there. Hatton gets the pass, turns his back to the man, double team, gets his shot away with a foul on the play against Utah State's Ibsen. His 3rd one. Polak and Ibsen of Utah State have each committed 3. Hatton on the Kentucky free throw line, shooting 1 with a bonus rule in effect. Hatton, who is scoreless, with a 17-8 average. 7 minutes and 8 seconds in the first half as Hatton's first free throw try of the night is good. So now the Wildcats have 5 men in the scoring column. They're the 5 starters. Beck, the only substitute so far, has not scored. Hatton with a bonus shot increases Kentucky's lead to 5 points, 30-25. Their longest lead since their 10-4 advantage melted away, and Utah State took a 1-point lead. Theus breaks into Adrian Smith, who's called for blocking. The first foul on Smith, and the 5th against Kentucky. Everybody has committed a personal except Hatton. On the free throw line, Theus of Utah State with 4 field goals, but he's 0 for 1 here at the charity line. 7 minutes to go in the first half as he hits. Score is 30-26 in favor of the Wildcats. In front court's Hatton on the left side to Smith. Whips in the pivot to Johnson. In the left corner to Cox. Jump shot, good. Johnny Cox picks up his 4th field goal to match the 4 by Odie Smith, and it's 32-26. Kentucky's second 6-point lead. Theus missing from the outside, and Beck rebounding, passing quickly to Cox. Polak blocked him, and for Polak, that's 4 fouls. Polak tried to slip in behind Smith while he had his back turned, receiving the outcoming pass from Cox, and he did not get his position established quickly enough to force Smith into charging. So now 4 fouls on Polak, and we're getting a little activity on the Aggie bench. So Odie Smith, who's 1 for 2, is up for a single shot that's good. Now Smith is the first man in double figures. Checkers, Cox is in double figures. Smith and Cox each have 10 points. 4 field goals, 2 free throws, and Odie's bonus shot gives him the lead with 11 points, and Kentucky its first 8-point advantage at 34-26. Frank Polak in front court for the Aggies from Logan, Utah. Moving to the right side, takes a screen off Theus and pumps away short. Slap to the outside, over the head of Johnson. Beck runs it down, whips to Cox, through his hands, right to Hatton, and from 5 feet he got it. First field goal for Vernon Hatton, and 4 Cats have field goals and a 10-point, 36-26 lead. Theus misses from the top of the circle. Cox rebounds. The Cats are on the prowl. Cox passed behind him that time to Beck. Up to Hatton now in front court. Down the right to Cox. Looks at the double pivot situation, doesn't like it. Now Hatton waves Johnson out and gives to Cox, who brings it out, lays it down for Smith, breaking to the right side, draws in 2 men, gives to Cox, shot good. 10 feet to the right on the baseline, Johnny Cox's 5th field goal, and Utah State's 3rd timeout. Ken Kuhn has just estimated attendance tonight at 7,500. Kentucky 38, Utah State 26. And we have 5 minutes, 50 seconds to go here in the first half of play. Well, West Virginia's Mountaineers may yet make a profit of the departed Hot Rod Hundley. He's now pro with the Lakers, but he made Mountaineer coach Fred Schaus squirm with a between-seasons prediction that this would be the best West Virginia team in history. It seemed a reckless forecast to Schaus, starting his 4th season as Mountaineer coach and his first without Hundley. But by golly, it begins to look like tonight that Hundley knew what he was talking about, because West Virginia is now rated the top team in the nation. As Martell Beaton comes into the Utah State lineup, Polak goes out as the warning horn sounds to go back to play. Kentucky 38, Utah State 26. First time the Aggies have been down by 12 points. Now we go back to play up in the front court. Jim Thayer, who's also now in the Aggie lineup, gives over to Beaton, to Cullimore, back to Thayer, moving to the top rim of the circle, slapping into the pivot. Beck is fouling from the rear. That's the second personal on Beck, who tried to slap an incoming pass away from Ibsen, committing his second personal. And Kentucky now has committed 6, so the bonus rule will be in effect on the next personal. Ibsen has hit one and missed one at the Utah State free throw line, and this shot's no good. Johnson rebounds, has it knocked away by Theus. Picked up to the right side by Beaton, back to Theus, out to Thayer, shot no good. Shortened to the right, Beck taps off the rebound, gets her out to Cox, a 4-on-2 break. Hatton from the right side fakes, breaks in on Thayer, and shoots good. Vernon Hatton with his second field goal makes it 40-26 for the Cats. Back in the front court now, Theus has it deep and to the right. Brings it back out front, gives it to Thayer, 25-year-old junior. Down the left side to Beaton. Back out to Cullimore, to Thayer. Thayer moves to the left, picked up by Hatton at the baseline. Gives back out to Cullimore, to Theus, straight away 25 feet. Got the screen. Breaks to the right, and from the free throw line shoots no good. Rebounding Adrian Smith. It's 2 against 3. Now Hatton's 1-on-1. Thayer from 5 feet. He missed it. Too hard off the boards. Theus takes the rebound, and Hatton grabbed him on the arms, committing his first foul, and the bonus rule is now into effect. Ken Kuhn points out that's the first foul Vernon Hatton has made in 3 games. 4 minutes, 47 seconds in the first half as Harold Theus on the Utah State free throw line, 1 for 2. He's the only Negro starter on the Aggies team. Misses the free throw. Johnson slaps it over to Adrian Smith, who moves it up in the front court for the Wildcats, still holding a 14-point edge in the left corner to Cox. He's wide open and misses. Johnson taps, no good. Theus rebounds for Utah State. Out to Thayer, up to Ibsen. It's 3-2, but Ibsen takes it off to the left. Gives out to Beaton, top rim of the circle to Thayer. Cuts to the left, gets a shot away on Adrian Smith, and it's no good. Beck rebounds in behind Johnny Cox. Moves it up with a bounce pass to Smith in front court. Hatton wide open, but they didn't catch him. Off the right to Cox, who takes the jump shot, no good. Rebounding Phil Johnson from 5 feet, misses. And rebounding Utah State. Beaton fires in front court. 1-on-1 is Cullimore against Smith and shoots no good. Beck gets the rebound for Kentucky again. Throws one right to the only man of 5, Theus, under the Kentucky basket. Kentucky had a 4-5 break. Beck goes for it again, and here's a foul on Ibsen of Utah State, and that's 4 on Ibsen. Well, the fans getting a kick out of that pass by Ed Beck. Kentucky had a 4-on-1 fast break going, and Beck's pass was over all the heads going down the floor and right to Theus under the Kentucky basket. Beck's on the free throw line now as Ibsen, still in the game, has 4 fouls. Polak, who has been taken out, also has 4. Beck, who hadn't scored, is on the line with 1 shot, and the bonus situation in effect hits. So 6 Cats have scored as Beck stands in for the bonus shot with a 41-26 Kentucky lead. And we're 5 seconds into the last 4 minutes. Bonus shot by Beck rolls off. Johnson taps it back over the other side of the rim, and it rolls off no good. Cullimore takes it off for Utah State. Moves it into front court. Thayer passes left side to Beaton, breaks to the baseline on Cox, fires one in that's knocked back by Beck away from Ibsen. Picked up by Beaton to the top rim of the circle. Hands it now out to Thayer, breaking down the left side, pulls up free throw line deep and gives to Theus. He walks with it, making a double fake on Phil Johnson. Kentucky takes over off the side of the backcourt with Hatton passing out on the long bounce to Adrian Smith. Kentucky playing the single pivot now as Utah State's Bob Crane waits to get in. Down the right side to Johnson, out to Hatton. Hatton calls Smith back out to set it up. Uses Johnson as a screen for a 15-foot jump shot. Good. Hatton with his third field goal puts Kentucky in front 43-26. And we have another 3 minutes here in the first half. Into front court now is Cullimore, gives to Theus. Theus moves out with it. Two-hop dribble over to Thayer. Utah State weaving on the right side with Cullimore into the right corner, looking at Ibsen in the pivot, well covered by Beck from the rear. Gives over to Beaton, down the left side to Theus, who takes the jump shot. It's good. Theus has 5 field goals along with Ibsen, and it's 43-28 in favor of the Wildcats. There are only 3 Utah State field goals out against Theus and Ibsen. Here's a pass to the Kentucky pivot to Beck, back to Adrian Smith from 15 feet. He hits. Odie Smith with 5 field goals matches Johnny Cox, and Kentucky leads 45-28 with 2.5 minutes now in the first half. Thayer down the right side to Beaton, and Cox kicked it away from him out of bounds over the baseline to the right of the Aggie basket. That's where they'll put it in play. Pass comes into Thayer from Beaton. Thayer deep, passing over to Cullimore down the left side to Theus. Back to Cullimore. Whips to Ibsen in the pivot, moves to the right at the baseline. Double team by Smith, gives off in the left corner, and Thayer hits. So Jim Thayer gets his first field goal to make the score 45-30 with another 2 minutes in the first half here at Lexington. Smith on the right side to Johnson. A one-bounce dribbling out to Hatton, off the left to Cox. Spins, and from 15 feet the jump shot's into the rim, no good. Cox picks it up and hooks, no good. Good! Caught the rim, bouncing back for his 6th field goal. 47-30, Kentucky's third 17-point lead. Here's a shot from the right side by Beaton, no good. Theus rebounds, Beck knocks it away. Johnson picks it up. Cats have got a 3-2 fast break going. Over to Hatton in the right corner, and his shot is good. 4 field goals for Vernon Hatton, and timeout Utah State, their 4th timeout of the ball game. And let's us take timeout. 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Standard Oil Sports Network.
WVLK, Lexington, Kentucky. 27 minutes, 30 seconds before 9 o'clock.
Well, here at the Coliseum in Lexington, we're ready to go again. Kentucky scoring so far. Johnson has 7. Cox has 14. Beck 1. Smith 13. Hatton 10. Don Mills 4. Utah State, Polak has 4. Cullimore 2. Theus 11. Ibsen 11. Thayer 2. That's the scoring right now with 1 minute and 28 seconds in the first half. Utah State has the ball at the baseline in back court. Well, if the Aggies get into any trouble in the second half, they're in trouble themselves because they've got 4 times out against them right now. Just one more. Here's Cox slapping the ball down from Beaton, picked up by Thayer out of bounds, and it goes to Kentucky. Adrian Smith passing to Beck, taking a quick return as he moves into front court to set it up. Bounce pass down the right to Johnson, who brings it out to the top rim of the circle. Picks it up, flips to Johnny Cox down the right to Hatton. Beck in on the pivot. Hatton brings it back out. Gives to Beck in the pivot, breaks by, back to Hatton, and is taken away by Beaton, and Johnson, who gets it, is fouled. Utah State's Jim Thayer drawing his first personal foul. Phil Johnson on the Kentucky free throw line is 1 for 2, and he's shooting 1 and 1. 57 seconds now in the first half of play. Johnson, who wears glasses, shoots off the back of the rim, no good. Beck slaps to the outside, and Thayer picks it up for Utah State. 2-2 break against Hatton and Smith. Down the left side, Beaton fires out behind the defense to Bob Crane, who came in at the timeout, and from 10 feet, Crane misses. Rebounding is there to Theus in the left corner. Shot good. Theus has 6 field goals to match Johnny Cox in that department. Score 49-32 in favor of Kentucky. Crane is 6'1", weighs 180, 24-year-old senior from Milford, Utah. Adrian Smith in front court calls Johnson out, then passes to Hatton to the left and deep. Hatton yells something to him. Fans yell, "Let's go." So Smith takes it down to the left, gives to Cox out deep to Hatton. Kentucky in a weave now. 15 seconds to go. They're going to freeze for one shot, apparently, for the 17-point lead. The fans yell, "Shoot. Let's get a little action." 8 seconds to go. Well, this is about the way it was against SMU. They didn't get a shot. Now 3 seconds, Hatton shoots and misses everything, and the first half is over. So Kentucky did freeze the ball for almost a minute and hardly got a shot away. Not a good shot at that. Score at the end of the half is Kentucky 49, Utah State 32. We're about ready to go with the second half. Kentucky 49, Utah State 32. This winds up pre-Christmas action. The next Kentucky game will be 1 week from tonight. We'll be greeting you over these same Standard Oil stations at 7:45 from here on the Coliseum, December 30th, when Kentucky plays Loyola. Ed Beck is coming back in to start the second half for Kentucky. Cox and Johnson remain at the forwards. Smith and Hatton at the guards. For Utah State, Mark Klodovich is coming in to start the second half. A 19-year-old sophomore from West Jordan, Utah. He's 6 feet, weighs 165, and the tap goes to Johnson to start the second half. Over to Hatton to Smith, who sets it up with a pass to Johnson on the right side and back to Smith. Hatton doesn't go in and gets the return pass and says something to Smith as he flips to him behind his back. Smith down the right side goes all the way, and Theus hit the floor hard going high in the air to block his shot. He fell into Smith, and the foul on Theus is his second one. That's the first one on Utah State in the second half. The bonus rule was in effect against each team in the first half. 2 shots to Odie Smith, who is 3 for 4 at the free throw line, and the first one's good. Kentucky has a lead now of 18 points. Smith's second shot's good, and it's 51-32 for the Wildcats, and Smith is the leading scorer in the ball game with 15 points. Up in the front court is Bob Crane, who remains in the Utah State lineup at guard. High pass there back to Theus, a hook, good. Beautiful shot by Harold Theus for his 7th field goal, and he has 15 points. Up in front court, Vernon Hatton down the left side to Johnny Cox. Brings it out to the free throw line, gives to Odie Smith. Turns his back, fakes, can't get his shot away, gives to Cox, and from 15 feet, no good. Cox up high to get the rebound, and Theus blocked his shot right up in front of the goal line, going high in the air. 2-on-1 break against Hatton, and Smith from the rear knocked it away from Polak out of bounds. Polak and Crane are at the guards. Here's the pass coming into Ibsen, playing in the pivot with 4 personals. It's off his knee and out of bounds to Kentucky. 51-34 in favor of Kentucky, each team with 2 points in the second half. Hatton in front court over to Smith. Moves to the right, staying deep, looks at Beck on a single pivot. Down the right to Johnson to Beck, and a hook, no good. Johnson taps, no good. Rebounds and shoots, falling away, no good. Johnny Cox slaps it on the floor. Johnson runs it down at the free throw line with a whistle on the play, walking. Out of bounds to Utah State. Crane passes into Polak, who moves back in front court, gives to Theus. Breaks down the right side to the right corner. Passes one outside, and here's the shot for Polak, good. Polak's 3rd field goal, and Utah State has outscored Kentucky in the second half. Kentucky remains on top, however, by 15 points. Johnny Cox in front court, gives off to Smith, driving, loses the ball, and has to come back and get it. Passes one into Beck, back to Johnson, who drops it, picked up by Hatton, breaking into the right, and he shoots, no good, with a foul on the play. It is against Ibsen of Utah State, and that's all. Utah State loses its 6'5" center, Bob Ibsen, after only 1 minute and 58 seconds of the second half. He gets a nice hand as he loses the ball game with 11 points. 5 field goals and 1 for 3 at the free throw line. Vernon Hatton is on the Kentucky free throw line. He's 2 for 2. And into the Utah State lineup for the first time, Joe Reevely, R-E-A-V-E-L-Y, 19-year-old sophomore from Salt Lake City. Reevely, 6'3", weighs 171. 2 shots to Vernon Hatton. A 2-hand free throw shooter. First one's good. Hatton's 11th point of the game. Smith, Cox are also in double figures. Here's Vernon Hatton with his second shot. Good. Crowd has been estimated at 7,500 tonight here in Lexington. With 2 minutes gone, it's Kentucky 53, Utah State 36. Each team with 4 points now in the second half. Down into the right corner, the pass goes down to Reevely. Outside to Theus, drops it, picks it up though. Very quick, very agile man. The shot, no good, off the rim. Johnny Cox has got it for Kentucky. A 1-bounce dribble up to Johnson. Utah State breaking the defense quickly. Johnson floats in all the way with a foul on the play. He's charging. Second foul on Johnny Cox. And so now in the second half, each team has committed 1 personal. Correct us on that. Utah State's drawn 2. We've played 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Each team has scored 4 points. For Kentucky, Smith and Hatton each have 2 free throws. Theus and Polak of Utah State have field goals, as Kentucky has outscored Utah State by only 1 field goal in this game. Reevely on the Utah State free throw line for the first time misses. Johnson taps it across the rim of the basket, above it to Adrian Smith, who moves up into front court quickly, down the left side to Cox, moves out, flips to Hatton, and from 20 feet the shot, no good. Beck slaps it back to Hatton at the top rim of the circle. He moves to the right, goes in under the basket, comes out, hands to Johnson, the screen, and the shot good. Phil Johnson with his 4th field goal, and it's 55-36 on Kentucky's first field goal of the second half. Polak in front court, over to Crane, down the right side to Theus. Jump shot over Johnson, no good. Beck hooks in the rebound beautifully. Hands over to Hatton, back in front court, trailing Beck to the pivot, and takes a jump shot at the free throw line. Short. Johnson taps, no good. Taps, no good. Beck taps. Hatton taps. Johnson taps, good. Johnson with his 5th field goal, and this is the best college game Johnson has ever played from the standpoint of points. 11. 57-36 for the Wildcats. As Klodovich off the left side gives to Crane, into the pivot to Reevely, outside to Polak as Cassidy waits to get in for Kentucky. Here's a hook from the right. It's good by Polak for his 4th one. A little 5'11" guard, 10 feet away on the baseline to the right, hooks it in. 57-38 as Johnson goes to the hook short. Theus rebounds for Utah State. Moves up into front court. Kentucky 57, Utah State 38. In front court now is Polak. Breaks to the left, and Smith tried to fight his way through the screen and committed his 2nd personal. So now each team has committed 2 fouls in the second half, and Johnson comes out of the Kentucky lineup. It's a nice hand. He's replaced by Bill Cassidy, 22-year-old senior from Inez. Cassidy is 6'2", weighs 191, is the number 9 scorer with 2 points against Minnesota, giving him a 1/2 point game average. Crane hits the Utah State free throw. And here's Cassidy on a break, laying it in. It took Cassidy about 3 seconds to score his 2nd field goal of the season, and Kentucky leads by 20 points after 4 minutes of the second half. Here in Lexington, Kentucky now will have 1 week off before playing a week from tonight against Loyola. Walking by Theus, who tried to fake to get off of a screen to the left side. Hatton out of bounds, is left, and Beck comes out to get him. Pass goes into Adrian Smith with Cassidy playing a forward. Here's a shot by Smith, no good. The tap up by Beck rolls out. Rebounding Cox lays it in. Johnny Cox has 7 field goals to match Theus, and it's 61-39 for the Cats. Up into front court is Polak. Over to Crane, who moves down the left side, goes to the corner, covered by Hatton, who takes it away from him. And Hatton knocks it down by Theus. Now it's on the floor by Klodovich, and a jump is called. Hatton took that ball through 3 men, and each one of them jarred it loose, and he was able to recover finally for a jump with Reevely. Hatton will have 1/2 inch height advantage at 6'3½". Taps it to Beck, who can't handle it, and taps it right on to Smith to keep control. Over to Cassidy on the right side. Back out to Smith to Hatton. Behind he's back to Cox, and a jump shot, good. 8 field goals for Johnny Cox, who takes the lead in that department. The fans oohing for Hatton's behind-the-back pass that hit Cox open and gave him the opening time he needed for his jump shot. 63-39 for the Cats. Falling down with the ball is Polak, a foul on Cox. 2nd foul on Johnny Cox, and the 3rd on Kentucky in this half. Odie Smith, Ed Beck, Johnny Cox, Phil Johnson all have 2 each in personal fouls. Frank Polak of Utah State on the free throw line for the first time hits, and it's a 63-40 ball game. Up in the front court, Vernon Hatton down the right side has it taken away from him by Bob Crane, slapped out of bounds by Johnny Cox, and Utah State takes over in backcourt. Kentucky had a lead of only 3 points after 10.5 minutes. They went to work in the next 5, though. Here's Theus, fakes, breaks, and from the free throw line hits. So Theus, with his 8th field goal, matches Johnny Cox in that department, and it's 63-42. Hatton in front court to Cassidy on the right side. Brings it out and gives to Adrian Smith. Breaks to the right. 15-foot jump shot is short off the rim, over the head. Beck slams it into the floor and then slaps it to the outside, and Smith throws it to Cassidy on a blind save. Cassidy brings it out to set it up and passes it to Smith on the right side. Pumps a bounce pass to Beck in the pivot. Pulls up and has it taken away from him. Beck goes to the floor to refight for the ball, and a foul against Cassidy. It's the first one on Cassidy. We have played 6 minutes of the second half. Here's the free throw, good by Crane for his second point of the ball game, and it's 63-43. The Wildcats are in front by 20 points as we go back to play. Odie Smith in front court, bounce pass to Cassidy, who brings it out to the top of the circle, gives to Hatton, in the pivot to Beck, off the left to Cox, breaks to the baseline, hooks a pass quickly out to Cassidy, in the pivot to Beck, Cassidy goes by, Beck gives to Smith from the free throw line, short and to the left, high for the rebound is Mark Klodovich of Utah State, brings it into front court against Cassidy. Bounce pass goes into the pivot, right back to Klodovich, out of shooting position under the basket, bounce pass to Klavik, no good, and under the basket, rebounding Klodovich, drops it in, and he's fouled by Cassidy, committing his second personal foul, and the fourth one against Kentucky in this half. 13 minutes, 27 seconds in the ball game. Klodovich's field goal is good, and his one free throw, good. So the score is Kentucky 63, Utah State 46, and the Aggies are really making up ground on the Wildcats now. Hatton giving over to Adrian Smith now, deep into the right, back to Hatton. Beck moves off the pivot, and Hatton gives to Cox, brings it out to the free throw line, has it taken away from him. Cox retrieves it, gives to Smith, whips to Beck, Hatton wide open, gets the ball, moves in, and Theus blocked his shot. That Theus goes above the rim of the basket to block him, too. Crane takes time out, and that, according to our record, is the last one for Utah State, number 5. Now one of the officials moves down to warn the Utah State bench that they have called 5 times out. Bob Crane, will this be a charged timeout? Crane has got a pretty good-sized cut under his right eye. Maybe he could better describe it as a scratch. It's 13 minutes to go, and let us take 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Standard Oil Sports Network.
WVLK, Lexington, Kentucky, in 20 seconds, 3 minutes past 9 o'clock.
Well, here in the second half between Kentucky and Utah State, each team has picked up 5 field goals now, and each team has picked up 4 free throws, as we have played 7 minutes of the second half on even terms. And Kentucky still holds that 17-point lead, which they took to the dressing room at halftime. We've had 5 times out in the game, all by the Aggies, who are in possession at midcourt. Bob Crane will remain in the game and put it in play. Passes in now to Frank Polak, who brings it up into front court. That last timeout will not be charged to Utah State, but an official's timeout for the injury. Here's Beck knocking one away in the pivot from Klodovich, picked up by Hatton, fed to Cassidy, to Cox in front court. Cox is fouled by Polak, and that's all for Polak. He fouls out of the game with 12 minutes and 43 seconds to go, and he has 9 points. Gets a fine hand, 5 of them in the second half. Polak playing with a very heavily bandaged left elbow. Big hunk of sponge rubber showing through the gauze. So Utah State has lost 2 starters now in the second half. First Ibsen with 11 points, and now Polak with 9 points, 4 field goals and a free throw. Johnny Cox, who is 2 for 3, will be on the Kentucky free throw line for 1 shot on this third foul of the second half by Utah State. And making his first appearance is Sam Haggerty, 23-year-old junior from Oakland, California, 5'10", weighs 155. And he is one of 2 Negro boys on the Utah State squad. Now Johnny Cox stands in at the free throw line. 12 minutes and 43 seconds to play. Kentucky 63, Utah State 46 as Cox misses. Beck taps it up, no good. Theus knocks it down to Crane. Outside to Haggerty. Moves it up to the top rim of the circle. Passes off the right side, and Reevely, one-hander good. Joe Reevely with his first field goal cuts Kentucky's lead to 63-48, and Utah State has outscored Kentucky now in the second half. Here's Beck in the pivot, back to Cassidy, wide open, lays it in, driving down the middle, his second field goal. This is Cassidy's best offensive game of the season, and it's also Phil Johnson's best offensive game, and it's also Don Mills' best offensive game. 3 men already have scored more points in this game than in any previous game. Theus fires under the basket. Busley. Klodovich, who rolls it out to Haggerty. Haggerty against Adrian Smith, gets a shot away that's no good, and Beck rebounds unopposed. After 8 minutes, Kentucky 65, Utah State 48. Here's Cox getting it to the left side at the baseline. One bounce dribble, a hook pass to Beck, shoots it in the left corner to Smith, and the jump shot in and out and back in. That's 6 field goals for Odie Smith. And Utah State wants its 5th timeout right now. This will be an official timeout for Utah State, officially charged, which means it is their last one of the game with 11 minutes and 49 seconds to play. Kentucky 67, Utah State 48. Here's the second half scoring. Bill Cassidy, 4 points. Phil Johnson, 4, and a total of 11 for his best scoring night. And Cassidy's 4 points is his best scoring night. Johnny Cox has 4 points in the second half for a total of 18. Ed Beck, none. He had 1 in the first half. Odie Smith has 4 in the second half and a total of 17. Vernon Hatton, 2 points and a total of 12. So that's the second half scoring for Kentucky. In case you missed it at the beginning of the broadcast, West Virginia today made the unprecedented jump in the AP poll from 8th to 1st place. The Mountaineers tonight became the nation's top team with 42 first-place votes and beat out Kansas. Back to play now. Utah State's Sam Haggerty in front court. Bringing it to the right side is Theus. Passes outside to Reevely. Back to Haggerty as they go into a weave. Now it's over to Theus, moves to the right. Cox doesn't give him that jumping room he needs for the open shot. Into Reevely in the right corner. Beck cuts him off from coming out into Klodovich. Cassidy slaps it away. Picked up by Reevely, who shoots and misses. Beck rebounds, fires to Johnny Cox for a 3-3 break. Off the left to Cassidy, who takes a 10-footer. No good. Taken off by Crane of Utah State. 67-48, Kentucky leading. Trying for their 6th win, and this their 9th game of the season. All in this month of December, which winds up pre-Christmas play tonight. Now Theus of Utah State out deep along the top rim of the circle. Passes over to Crane, who takes it to the left side. We've played 9 minutes now in this second half. Kentucky's outscored Utah State by only 2 points. They played 10.5 minutes in the first half and outscored them by only 3 points. Here's Haggerty driving for the basket, and a foul against Adrian Smith, his 3rd one. Smith. 10 minutes, 40 seconds in the ball game now. According to our records, that's 5 personals in this half on Kentucky. Or 6 of them, it is. On the free throw line, Haggerty of Utah State shoots short, and Beck taps it over to Hatton. Breaks up into front court with it. Gives to Johnny Cox. Down the right side, he takes the jump shot. Good. Deep to the right. Cox with his 9th field goal leads in that department. As Kentucky goes out on top by 19 points. Biggest lead, 24. Up in the front court, Haggerty. 21 points. Correct us on that lead. Here's Theus from 20 feet, missing the jump shot. Rebounding is Reevely. Beck cuts him off, so he falls away. And Theus knocked the ball out himself. They're going to give the ball out of bounds to Kentucky under the Utah State basket. Reevely hit that ball while it was still on the ring of the basket, his own basket, as we go into the last 10 minutes of the ball game. Here's Cassidy feeding Beck. 10-foot hook, no good. Beautiful rebound by Cox, who has to fight his way out of there with it against Haggerty. Protects it with his body and then loops a high pass at Theus of Utah State, knocks down as Cox tried to pass the width of the floor. Over on the left to Crane, who fakes Smith and lays it up. No basket. It's nullified by a foul on Adrian Smith, his 4th foul. And the bonus rule is in effect with 9 minutes, 40 seconds to play. So Crane, who hasn't missed a Utah State free throw, is up for 1. He shoots. No good. Theus up high, has it slapped away by Beck and over to Vernon Hatton for a 3-3 break with Smith and Cassidy. Gives to Cox, moving through for a shot that's no good. Way up high on the boards. Taken off by Klodovich of Utah State. He wheels back into front court. Down the right side against Cassidy. Bounce pass to Crane on the baseline. Moves out against Hatton. Doesn't attempt to shoot. Gives to Reevely. 1 bounce dribble. Gives to Haggerty to set it up. Haggerty backs away from Smith and pumps a bad pass into Klodovich, who slaps it back to Theus. Over to Crane. Bounce pass in. Back to Crane. Crane fakes Hatton and comes outside, though, to the free throw line. Bounce pass goes under the basket. Klodovich hits, falling away. Mark Klodovich with his 2nd field goal makes it 69-50 for Kentucky. Here's Adrian Smith from 10 feet. Got it. A foul is called against Utah State's Bob Crane. The field goal by Adrian Smith is good. Crane gets his first personal foul. Beck comes out on Utah State's 4th foul of the half, and he's replaced by Don Mills. Adrian Smith gets his 7th field goal, and Ed Beck gets a big handshake from Adolph Rupp as he sits on the Kentucky bench now for a rest. Adrian Smith shooting for his 20th point, gets it, and it's Kentucky 72, Utah State 50. Well, the most points in a regulation game for Kentucky this year, the 78 they scored against Duke and repeated Saturday against Minnesota. Here's blocking on Adrian Smith, and that's all of it. Adrian Smith fouls out of the ball game with 8 minutes and 45 seconds to go. And he fouls out only seconds after hitting his 20th point. And to replace him is Earl Atkins, a 20-year-old senior from Ashland who's 6'4", weighs 180. Atkins is the number 7 scorer with 6 points, an average of 2 per game. His best night was against Temple when he threw in 4. Well, we've fouled out 3 men in this ball game with another 8 minutes and 45 seconds to go. No one right now is in immediate danger. As a matter of fact, no one has as many as 3. Haggerty gets the free throw good and will take a bonus shot. Kentucky's lead is trimmed back to 21 points. They had 17 at the half. Haggerty, who's only 5'10", shoots and hits. 72-52 the score as the Wildcats swing back to the offensive. Hatton comes in front court, got Cassidy at a running mate, or Atkins rather, as Cassidy remains at a guard. Pass goes to Mills on the pivot. He turns and a jump shot way short, glances off of the rim, picked up by Cassidy, lays it in. Oh, wait a minute. They take the ball, they take it away from Cassidy in the most unusual decision. The ball was just coming out of the nets when somebody hit it, and it came on through, and they take the ball game away, the score. We got rattled ourselves in seeing something like that. Well, Cassidy doesn't like it because that was his 3rd field goal they took away from him. Here's Atkins blocking a shot beautifully on Haggerty, fed to Cox, breaking against Crane. He gives to Atkins, who missed a wide open shot, and Mills tapped it in. His first field goal. Crane yells to Theus to get back down floor as he brings it up into front court, going into the last 8 minutes of the ball game. Haggerty breaks to the right. Here's a pushing foul against Earl Atkins, his first one. Hey, Shive, what was the ruling on that goaltending? Is that goaltending if the ball is in your own nets and gets hit?
Claude, no, after it's down, unless you go over the top of the rim. I didn't see anybody do that.
Well, thank you. We were just wondering about it because the ball was hit down in the nets. Bob Crane hits at the Utah State free throw line and gets a bonus shot. Into the lineup, Lowell Hughes replacing Vernon Hatton. This is the first time that quarterback Lowell Hughes has played basketball. A 19-year-old sophomore from Prestonsburg. He's 6 feet and weighs 185. Crane with his bonus shot hits for Utah State. And it is 74-54 as Atkins and Hughes take over at the guards. Atkins in front court to Cassidy on the right side. Cassidy all the way, missed. Mills taps, no good. Mills taps, no good. Taken off now by Reevely, got a man, Crane, wide open. And Haggerty missed a bounce on the dribble and lost his time. Over to Theus on the left side, and from 15 feet he shoots short. Lowell Hughes gets the rebound for Kentucky. Fires over to Earl Atkins, and Kentucky's got a 5-3 break. Off the right to Mills, from 10 feet he hits. And a foul is called on Kentucky, nullifying the basket. Seven minutes and 22 seconds to play. Crane will go back to the Utah State free throw line where he's hit 4 out of 5. Crane shoots, no good. Cox taps behind him to Atkins. Up into front court, passes to Mills, gives to Hughes, and from the left he misses. Taken off by Reevely, passes to Haggerty. Kentucky leading by 20 points. As Reevely pulls up at the top rim of the circle, gives to Crane, breaks in on Hughes, and shoots good. So Bob Crane gets his first field goal, and it's 74-56. Earl Atkins moving back in front court now for the Wildcats. Gives over to Cassidy on the right side, out to Lowell Hughes. From 20 feet, he's fouled by Crane. Second foul on Bob Crane of Utah State. Lowell Hughes on the Kentucky free throw line for 2 shots. 6 minutes and 48 seconds to play here at the Coliseum as Hughes shoots no good. Hughes looking for his first college basketball point. Sights for the second shot. Good. 75-56 in favor of Kentucky as Bob Crane moves up the backcourt. Angles to the left, comes back to the right. Lowell Hughes runs over Haggerty, not seeing the screen. That's the first foul on Hughes. Haggerty, who is 2 for 3, goes to the Utah State free throw line. 6 minutes and 40 seconds to play. Haggerty plays with 2 of the old-style knee pads. His free throw is good. He'll take the bonus shot. Utah State came to town with an 11-man squad from their game at Dayton Saturday night. They head back into Idaho and on to Anchorage, Alaska for the weekend Santa Claus Bowl. Bonus shot by Haggerty is good. It's 75-58. Earl Atkins in front court now. Gives to Lowell Hughes down the right to Cassidy. Outside to Atkins, who sets from 30 feet and misses. Theus rebounds for Utah State. Kicks off a 2-2 break. Down the right side. Shoots high and no good. Rolls off. Mills dropped the rebound out of bounds. Utah State takes over the baseline to the right of its basket. Theus passing in deep to Haggerty. Breaks down the right and shoots over Atkins. No good. Mills hooks in the rebound. Whips over to Cassidy on a lead for a 2-1 break with Hughes, who gets in and lays it in. Good. Lowell Hughes laying in the driving shot. It counts for his first field goal. The foul is on Haggerty. The first foul on Haggerty. And Lowell Hughes, with his first field goal, now will take 1 free throw, giving Hughes 3 points in this his first game. Kentucky has a 19-point lead. They've still outscored Utah State only 2 points in this half. 78-58 the score now, making it a 3-point advantage built up in the second half. Crane on the left side gives to Reevely in the corner. Hooks one under the basket that Klodovich lays up good. Klodovich with his 3rd field goal and his 7th point in a reserve role this second half makes it 78-60. Johnny Cox, the only regular left in on the left side, back out to Hughes, hooks a pass to Mills, and a hook shot, short. Hughes slapping for it, couldn't get it away from Crane, who passes up into front court. Cassidy kicked it out of bounds. Cassidy had lined up his position to force Theus into charging him, and the ball hit him on the foot and went out of bounds. Passes into Crane, over to Haggerty, who moves down the left side for a jump shot that's good. Haggerty with his first field goal makes it 78-62. And now Utah State's outscored Kentucky in the second half as Cox drives in, pulls up, and is fouled under the basket by Klodovich of Utah State, committing his first one. 5 minutes and 12 seconds to play as Kentucky's Johnny Cox goes to the free throw line, and Abe Collinsworth comes off with a warm-up jacket. Cox will take 2 shots. He is 2 for 4 at the free throw line, and chance to become the leading scorer of the game, he does, with his 21st point. 7 of them in this half. The shot's no good by Cox on the second one, and the ball goes out of bounds opposite Klodovich of Utah State. Lowell Hughes will put it in play on the left side. This is the most points Kentucky has scored this year in a regulation game, eclipsed only by the 85 against Temple in 3 overtimes. Here's Atkins driving beautifully and laying it in. Earl Atkins with his first field goal makes it 81-62. Up in the front court, Theus of Utah State to Haggerty. Top rim of the circle. Haggerty turns his back to Atkins, tries to hook Lowell Hughes up and misses. Gives over to Klodovich. Drives in on Cassidy. Bounce pass out to Haggerty. Breaks to the left. And the foul on Atkins. Second foul on Earl Atkins, and Abe Collinsworth comes into the Kentucky lineup. 21-year-old senior from Salyersville who has not scored this year, and Johnny Cox comes out. Cox getting a nice hand as Collinsworth stands 6'3", weighs 190, replaces him. Sam Haggerty, who's hit 4 out of 5, goes to the Utah State free throw line for 1 shot with the bonus rule in effect here in the last 4 minutes and 35 seconds. The shot is no good. Tapped by Mills behind him to Lowell Hughes. Gets away from Haggerty, driving into front court. Whips one off to Cassidy, who wasn't looking for it, and it's out of bounds to Utah State. Up in the front court now is Bob Crane of the Aggies. Goes to the free throw line, turns his back on Hughes, bounces one into Kladovich, back to Crane, breaking in. Hughes blocked it from the rear. Crane picked it up on the right side, shoots one under the basket, and Cassidy makes a beautiful block on an attempted shot by Kladovich, and they'll jump. Kladovich 6 feet. Gives Kentucky 2 inches height advantage, and the tap is to Collinsworth. He moves it into front court for the Wildcats. Hands off to Hughes with 4 minutes to go. It's over to Cassidy down the right to Atkins playing at a forward. Outside to Cassidy to Hughes, who takes a 20-foot jump shot, no good. Short, Atkins rebounds, coming in under the basket, and he's hit in the face. As he jumps to shoot, Bob Crane slapped for the ball and caught Atkins in the face. 3 minutes, 54 seconds to go. That's the third foul on Crane, and Atkins is on the line for Kentucky, shooting 1. Atkins' first free throw line appearance. Bill Smith, who has not been in a game this year, comes up to play. Earl Atkins shooting 2, hits the first one. And if he hits this one, he will equal his high point against Temple when he got 4. Bill Smith is waiting to replace Atkins, however. He's on the line for the second shot. Bates comes off the Utah State bench, waiting to get in. As Atkins shoots no good on the second one, it's in play. Picked up by Haggerty of Utah State. He had Theus up on his back then and waited for him to get away. Moves up into front court against Atkins. Off the left side to Theus, who stays deep. Breaks out against Collinsworth. Turns inside to shoot. No good. Don Mills high for the rebound to Cassidy to Collinsworth. It's 2-on-2. Collinsworth shoots her off to Cassidy, who lays it in driving. Cassidy's third field goal makes it 84-62 with 3.5 minutes to play. And here's Collinsworth leaving his feet to knock one up in the stands on an intended pass to Crane. Fans getting a big kick out of these second, third string Wildcats who are really running. Here's Reevely out of the right corner, missing. Atkins rebounds. Whips her out to Collinsworth. And the Cats move up quickly into front court. Collinsworth pulls up. Fans yell shoot. He whips one in there to Hughes from the left side. He misses. Taken by Mills, who's fouled from the rear as he jumps to shoot. It is against Reevely. First foul on Reevely. And Earl Atkins comes out of the Kentucky lineup. Bill Smith is in. 21-year-old senior from Walton. Smith 6'5", weighs 213. Now Crane and Kladovich come out of the Utah State lineup to make way for Jim Thayer and Jay Bates. 3 minutes, 3 seconds to go as Don Mills goes to the Kentucky free throw line with 6 points. On this, his best scoring night since the 3 points he got against St. Louis. We'll be back with you over these same Standard Oil stations 1 week from tonight, December 30th, when Kentucky plays Loyola of Chicago here at Memorial Coliseum. It's the only team Kentucky will play outside the Southeastern Conference now for the rest of the season. They return to play Loyola at Chicago Stadium February 15th. Mills shooting no good on the first one. First one he's missed in 5 shots. Cassidy and Hughes backed up in a safety as Mills shoots no good again. Reevely, who committed the foul, gets the rebound. Over to Thayer, moving in front court. Kentucky leading 84-62. Bill Smith stabbing for the ball on Bates. This pass comes back out to Thayer, moving to the left. He pulls up, passes to Haggerty at the top rim of the circle. Tries to fake Cassidy away from him, can't do it, gives to Reevely, dropped it through his legs, and went right through the legs also of Don Mills, who never saw it. Here's Collinsworth passing into Hughes, taking a quick return pass. Collinsworth moving back into front court for the Wildcats, pulls up, passes to Hughes, outside to Cassidy. They've got Collinsworth playing a forward with Smith, and Hughes gives it to Collinsworth down the left side. He fires one out to Bill Smith, who walks with it, and it's out of bounds to Utah State. Now up in the front court is Thayer. Gives over to Bates. Back out to Haggerty. 2 minutes to go as he takes a jump shot good. Haggerty with his second field goal makes it an 84-64 ball game. Collinsworth in front court for the Wildcats. Passes left side to Smith, back to Collinsworth. High pass in the pivot to Mills. He takes a fall-away jump shot that's no good. Cassidy rebounds on Haggerty and lays it in. 4 field goals by Cassidy for his best scoring night. 86, the most points Kentucky has scored all season in a single game. Here's Theus missing. Collinsworth rebounding for a 3-2 fast break. Hits Hughes on the left, quickly to Cassidy, who lays it in. Cassidy has 5 field goals, and it's 88-64, equaling the longest lead of the game. Theus against Collinsworth, jump shot, no good. Mills rebounds, fires it behind the back of Hughes, who has to stop and get it. Breaks up the fast break. Over to Collinsworth, 88-64. Over to Hughes, down the left to Smith. Out to Collinsworth. He moves to the right, gives to Cassidy. Cassidy shoots, no good. Mills taps, no good. Goes in, gets the rebound, lays it in, good, and a foul against Reevely of Utah State. The goal is good. Second foul on Reevely. Mills gets his second field goal and has a free throw coming as Theus comes out of the Utah State lineup. Kladovich is back in. 49 seconds to play. Kentucky 90, Utah State 64. Don Mills goes to the free throw line for one try. He is 4 for 6. Mills steadily pounding the ball into the floor. Now shoots no good. Hit 4 straight, now missed 3 straight. Utah State gets the rebound in the front court. Jump shot by Bates no good. Taken off by Don Mills. Hooks one to Collinsworth, and it's a 3-4 break. Collinsworth moves in. Whips over to Hughes. From 10 feet he misses. Short and off the front of the rim. He races it down into backcourt and gets it, and Kladovich fouls him from the rear. Second foul on Kladovich with 31 seconds to play. Lowell Hughes, who's hit 2 out of 3, is on the Kentucky free throw line for one shot. Bonus rule in effect. Hughes hits and gets the bonus free throw. Lowell Hughes has picked up 5 points in this game, his first appearance of the season. Hughes bonus try, good. Kentucky 92, Utah State 64. And back into front court now on the left side. It's over to Bates, back to Thayer in the left corner. Out to Kladovich, and Collinsworth fouled him. It's the first foul on Collinsworth. 22 seconds to play now as Mark Kladovich of Utah State goes to the free throw line. He's 1 for 1. Bonus rule is in effect. As Kladovich shoots, it's no good. Rimming off, taking it as Reevely, shoots no good. Tapped by Kladovich, no good. Taken off by Bill Smith of Kentucky. Out to Lowell Hughes, up to Cassidy in front court. Passes down the right side to Collinsworth, who takes a 25-footer, no good. High off of the rim, Bill Smith tried to slap it up and missed it, and it's out of bounds to Utah State. 2 seconds to go now. They do not get a shot away as Lowell Hughes knocks it out of bounds. So the final score is Kentucky 92, Utah State 64. We'll have individual scoring in just a moment. Right now, your Standard Oil dealer would like to take this opportunity to wish you and yours the merriest of Christmases and the happiest of New Years, and to thank you for your friendship and patronage during the year now drawing to a close. Here's your individual scoring. Adrian Smith, who fouled out with 8 minutes 45 seconds to play, had 20 points on 7 field goals and 6 for 7 at the free throw line. Johnny Cox ended up as Kentucky's leading scorer with 21 points. He had, like Adrian Smith, 20 points. And just as Coach Rupp took him out of the game, he was fouled and dropped in 1 free throw for 21 points to take scoring honors. The other scoring saw Phil Johnson, starting at a forward tonight, pick up 11 points, his best scoring night of the season, 5 field goals and 1 for 3 at the free throw line. And Don Mills, starting for the first time at center tonight, was able to pick up 8 points in his best scoring night. He had 4 out of 7 free throws and 2 field goals. Vernon Hatton tonight had 12 points on 4 field goals and 4 free throws. Those were the starters for the Wildcats tonight, and the other scoring, Bill Cassidy in a reserve role got 10 points on 5 field goals. Ed Beck had 1 point as he hit 1 out of 2 at the free throw line. Earl Atkins 3 points, a field goal and 1 for 2 at the free throw line. Lowell Hughes picked up 6 points on 4 out of 5 free throw shooting and 1 field goal. Also in the ball game, Abe Collinsworth and Bill Smith. Neither of them scored. For Utah State, Frank Polak, who fouled out with 12 minutes 43 seconds to play, 9 points, 4 field goals and a free throw. Bob Crane ended up with 6 points in a reserve role. He hit 4 out of 6 free throws and a field goal. Ralph Cullimore, who started at a guard, had 2 points and a field goal. And Harold Theus, the big man, with 17 points, 8 field goals, 1 out of 3 on the free throw line. The center, Bob Ibsen, fouled out after only 1 minute 58 seconds of the second half and 11 points, 5 field goals and 1 for 3 on the free throw line. 2 points for Jim Thayer on the first half field goal. 8 points for Sam Haggerty, who saw action only in the second half, 4 out of 6 free throws and 2 field goals. Mark Kladovich, who played only in the second half, 7 points, 3 field goals and 1 for 2 at the free throw line. 2 points for Joe Reevely on the second half field goal where he missed his only free throw. Martell Beaton was in the game but didn't score, and Jay Bates didn't score. He missed his only free throw. Kentucky led by 17 points at the end of the first half and won the game by 28. The score 49-32 at halftime. The final score was Kentucky 92, the most points they've scored this season. Utah State 64. Those are the highlights from tonight's Kentucky-Utah State game. We'd like to thank our statistician and Bob Cox, who still is recuperating from a bad attack of the flu, and our engineer Noel Robertson of Lexington radio station WVLK. Now here are those shooting percentages. Utah State outshot Kentucky, hitting 38.8% of their shots, while Kentucky hit 38.2%. However, Kentucky beat them by 8 field goals.